Do we get told by our politicians and the media what to think? Does the media decide who gets a fair go in Australia today? Who decides what our Australian values are? Does the media tell us who to blame for things that go wrong in society? Throughout Australian history, many different groups have been targeted. These are the questions we are asking in our film.
I come from a land down under. Yeah, this track is dedicated to Strathfield South High School and their message of one united peoples in Australia under one flag, one country, one nation. Yes, we are all Australian. It's your boy LT, MIP dropping this. For my people, Sydney side, worldwide, Australia coming at you. No matter where you are, no matter where you're from.
This film is a story of two different schools in Sydney.
We are all Australian under one flag, blue and white, that's the way, man. From a land down under. Strathfield South.
Both schools explore the stereotypes or ideas presented by the media about Australians of different ethnic backgrounds.
Sydney, Australia, put your hands up and sing this, y'all. Sing this, y'all.
We found that stereotypes presented by the media were inaccurate and unfair. We're all from different backgrounds and we all understand each other's beliefs and where we all come from, and we all respect each other.
Australia's so multicultural, so I just love everything, and I love the beach and I love the outback and I love everything.
Pretty intimidating, overwhelming. Not because anyone was rude, everyone was really nice. It was really different. Like, I didn't know what to expect, and when I came I was just like, whoa.
I don't know, I didn't feel comfortable really, because I felt weird. No one was like me, or like us.
My name's Emma, I'm from Windsor High.
My name's Corinne, I'm from Windsor High.
I kind of felt different towards everyone. I guess it's because everybody else was anglo.
Yeah, because there's like no Asians, only 4.
I was mad. I really like this place. Kind of felt strange at first, because there was no Asians.
Mono means monocultural.
Mono means one.
And cultural means cultural.
Yeah, it was really cool, everyone's nice.
Coming from a land down under. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all area codes, from all religious codes, from all cultural backgrounds, it's your boy LT and I'm telling y'all this. We are born in Australia, therefore we are all Australian.
St Matthew's Church is one of probably the oldest church in Windsor, designed by Francis Greenway, who was sent as a convict to Australia. And he became the architect for basically the colonies.
They were friendly back, but some of them, like, they were just looking, giving dirty. They all got hair about that long, it's all big.
Yeah, like they've never got a haircut in their life.
What did you think? Huh? What did you think? Everyone was good, except for the girl that said, "What the F are you guys doing here?"
Like, we were probably, judging them. They probably aren't rebellious in any type of way. It's just the way that they present themselves that we think they're rebellious.
Yeah, they're all friendly and they're very nice.
It's not as multicultural as our school. Like at our school, like you can see Asians and Lebos. How many Asians they have? 6 Asians. Like everybody just sitting together. But here, it's just like they're all the same. They walk around. You see a person with blonde hair. You go to another area. Another person with blonde hair. Yeah, where are the brunettes?
And more like curious.
They talk a lot of questions.
There's about 20 girls in front of us just saying,
and we're just like, yeah. And this girl asked us if you know this bloke. She goes, you should know him, he's a wog.
What does your hair say to them, do you reckon?
Lebanese.
Yeah?
Full Lebanese, like they can feel from the mullet. Yeah.
You know, racism is the child of ignorance, and if you wipe away the ignorance by educating yourself about other cultures, what you do is you then heighten your capacity to have a better relationship and a better interaction, a better understanding with other cultures, and that creates the truly multicultural society.
And it's really cool to have friends from different countries because you get to learn about where other people are from than just where you're from.
We are all Australian, regardless of our religion, of our background, where we come from.
I think it's a positive. I think we bring a lot of rich culture to Australia, such as in Darling Harbour during Chinese New Year, people enjoy the boat races, martial arts.
We're all human beings. There's nothing really different about us except that we come from different countries.
Like, it's more multicultural, obviously. Like, this is just, as you guys said, like, everyone's blonde hair, blue eyes pretty much here. And
I don't know, I'm not sure that they've seen Lebos before.
No, not really.
Yeah.
My background's Lebo, but I'm Australian as well.
I reckon I'm Australian. I think I'm bloody Aussie.
Media isn't just news and current affairs media, it certainly covers all the entertainment media. So when we think about how groups are represented, we've also got to think about dramas, soap operas, comedy shows, all of these things, advertising, they're all part of the media.
If you turn on the television, if you see an ad for Coles or for Woolworths or Franklin Supermarket, according to them, it's only Anglo-Australians who work there, it's only Anglo-Australians who shop there.
A lot of our mainstream media is still run by people of Anglo background. It's largely run by men, they tend to be the senior people, and so there can be an assumption about who their audience is.
Now, for any race, and certainly for the Indigenous races, that's very belittling because it projects that you have no place in this society.
We have a tendency as people to group into in-groups and out-groups. The in-group forms quite readily, but then usually within any in-group there's aspects of the group or aspects of yourself that you don't like, and you tend to project those features of yourself or of your group onto an out-group.
The term the other refers to a way of people understanding their own identity by what they're not.
I've noticed recently, I wonder if you have, this notion of things that are un-Australian. But things that are Australian are starting to really narrow.
We saw at the Cronulla riots, we saw, initially a large group of Anglo-Australians basically claiming this is our beach and that we know what it is to be Australian and no one else has a right to come here, no one from other ethnic, cultural backgrounds. But of course, being Anglo is a cultural, ethnic background, and yet some people seem to think it's the standard or the norm. So othering is very much this process of defining yourself against other groups and doing that by attributing negative characteristics to them and positive characteristics to yourself.
Stereotyping is how people judge other races. Now they say, oh, Lebos, these big troublemakers, they hang out in groups, they want to cause trouble.
It's like, I don't know why people stereotype that they just go like Asians, why are they so smart for? And then, I am smart. And then they start to doubt themselves because of their nationality.
You know what people said to me? You know the saying, oh, God made everybody beautiful, but what happened to you? They go to me, God made all the Asians smart, what happened to you? It's like, come on, man.
I've seen from the media of late is that they're constantly portraying Aboriginals as alcoholics, as drunks, as people who neglect their children.
I also think in terms of the Muslim women oppression, they're very oppressed, no rights whatsoever in Islam or within Arab culture. We're far from being liberated, stuff like that, so yeah, it kind of starts to get to you.
It was interesting because people seem to think that Muslim girls are controlled by their husbands and everything, and I figured out that they're not.
Like now that I talk to more Lebanese people, that I know that they're not all the same.
Stereotyping to me is judging someone by what you've heard about them or what they look like. What you hear about people isn't always true.
When you say gay, because that's a kind of you don't mean homosexual, do you?
No.
No, because that's a word that people just use as a sort of casual insult. So when you say gay, what do you think of?
Like, stupid hairstyle.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
What about how they dress?
Yeah, they're just like nerds.
Nerds. Okay. That when you saw these guys come into the school last week, you went, I think those guys are totally gay. Now, what he was thinking was a little bit unusual, a little bit nerdy. Is that what you had in mind? Something like that? What were you thinking when you saw them and thought gay? What came into your mind?
With hairstyles and just up there.
Okay.
Why do you think we're gay and nerds?
Good question.
Is there something like that gives it away?
The hairstyles and how he's dressed.
I wear this on the weekend all the time.
Are you stereotyping?
No.
Like, what's wrong with my hairstyle?
What?
Like,
That's what's wrong with
No, but like, if you saw me down the street, you'd be like, oh my god, her hairstyle's gay. No?
No, like his hairstyle.
Oh, I got grease in it.
Oh. What about his?
Oh.
That's alright.
Sorry. Nerdy? Ouch.
So cut.
Burnt.
What would make me not gay?
Spark up your hair, not like that. Make it shorter.
Like yours?
Yeah.
You're gay.
What sort of hairstyles your dad had?
My dad.
Your old man. Normal.
And what's
like yours?
I just. No, not like mine. He's old.
What's your old man? Gay, mate, alright?
They're good?
They're not mean.
They're not mean. No. They seem like all right people to you, do they?
Yeah.
How come they're all right now? They were nerdy before and gay before.
Because I didn't know them.
Okay, so
Yeah, young people do base their opinions of other people by their looks lately, especially if you have like a distinctive appearance to, say, you look, different nationality.
I get it at work as well, saying, what's the go with all these young Lebo kids with their hairstyles and this and that, and you try to explain to them that they're not as bad as they think they are. But then when they come in other schools, like, an example now, they come across and you want to make fun of someone else and disrespect someone else. Because as far as us go, it's like we have to do something to the others to make ourselves feel better.
Some Lebanese boys were laughing and disrespecting the Windsor High students during the workshop. Their behaviour contributes to negative stereotypes of Lebanese students.
Not racist, but we're disrespectful. We have no respect for other people's opinions.
Yeah, it sure does.
Makes us look more like troublemakers. Basically reinforcing the idea that Lebo kids are troublemakers becomes a reality. It's true, Lebo kids are like that. They are disrespectful, they don't respect no one, they don't like no one, only themselves. And basically we're bullies. Everyone thinks we're bullies.
What do you guys think of that?
True. It's all true. But it's weird how we always realise it after we've done it.
If you want the world to be a happy place, you don't call people gay. Don't go up to people and say, you're gay, you're stupid, and that will cause war because... How would it cause war? Because they probably don't even know the meaning of gay. Yes, they do. What? The Aussies.
John Howard built this.
John Howard didn't build it.
George Bush never helped him with the cement.
There's no TNs here, alright? What do you want to do? There's no Rexes.
There's no bunch
We're not like bumpkins. We do show and stuff. If you drive for like 10 minutes, you can go to Foot Locker and Rebel. It's all around.
Can you say that again? Like a Lebo.
That when we were triads or gangsters or drug dealers. That's the typical Asian stereotype.
In the 80s, how there was a lot of fear and I think I would call moral panic over Vietnamese refugees who came to Australia. And there was this, immediately all these claims about, they're running heroin rings and they're all part of criminal gangs and, really similar things that are now being said about young Muslim men.
Were expected to be good at maths, not speak or understand English, did not swim, spent all their weekends studying.
I'm smart. I'm Asian.
For her to say that and get a lot of support in certain ways, there must be some elements of truth in it. And then I found that we want a politically and socially active enough to interact with the wider sections of the society. And my response to that was that I joined the political party, and I will try to become a integral part of the society.
Then is the smart Asian. That's what everybody says. And then Vanessa's the quiet one. See, she hasn't said anything all this time because she's shy. And then Victor.
Don't put to me. Charming, handsome, gorgeous Asian angel.
Stereotyping is not fair. It's racist.
It can hurt people's feelings.
I think particularly young Lebanese Muslim men seem to have been the group that have been, most targeted. Stereotypes that we've heard very explicitly laid out in talkback radio, particularly by people onto some of the presenters on 2GB. Stereotypes that these young men hate women or don't understand women, or they're disrespectful of women, that they sort of roam around in gangs and pick on poor defenceless individuals.
All Lebanese men are very barbaric and disrespectful to women. All they want to do is rape them, and I guess this is it really adds to the whole scene and the fear campaign that we've seen against Lebanese men.
So there's a stereotype. If you have a group of young Anglo boys on the North Shore, gathering after school to kick a football round, well, they're a group of young men. But if you have a group of, Muslim Lebanese young guys, meeting at a beach or hanging out in a car park together after school, well, they're a gang. So that's how a stereotype operates. It attributes negative characteristics to people in a way that generalises about them and ignores the fact that in any group you're going to have lots of different values.
Yeah, I'll meet up with some boys, we become like a gang, something happens, hits the media, stereotyping about the whole race.
You turn on your TV every night, I guarantee you'll hear something about
Middle Eastern
a
background.
person who's committed a crime or has done something bad with a Middle Eastern appearance. You can't take that because it just reflects back towards you. Coming from a Middle Eastern background, you don't want the media to portray you like that.
Me, I live near Lakemba, and that when I'm hanging around there, we're all Lebos there. Everyone makes you feel welcome in that.
Yeah.
So you feel more at home.
So when you go elsewhere, because somebody might look at you and go, "Oh, you're Lebanese."
Yeah, like you stand out, like.
Not really, not like they'll say I use Lebanese, but we'll cop a few death stares here and there.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you stand out. Everyone.
You feel more comfortable, that everyone there is like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we like to go to those places as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like some people think that if they go there, they're gonna get bossed around because it's not our area.
And they felt over the last couple of years that their patch has been shrinking, in the sense that the rest of society doesn't want them to be at the beach, doesn't want them to be in Brighton Lissan, doesn't want them to be in the main shopping centres, and they just want them to confine to the Lakemba and Bankstown.
But we don't have nothing against them, but it's just like we don't feel safe around them.
If an Aussie comes down to Lakemba, I'm just putting an example, he probably will get death stares in that. They'll all look at him like, what's this guy
Not
doing?
really, but
That's not
What do you think?
No, man, that's not how it is. For the Aussie,
Depends, but if there's things going on.
Aussie comes down to Lakemba now, he's not going to cop death stares.
to be honest, they'll probably get along because I see a
He's
lot
back
of...
talking about the Cronulla riot stuff. That's a story that happened and it's gone.
That's it, it's
gone.
gone.
It's gone. It's over and done with. This bloke's talking about, he's going to give him a dirty, he's going to give him a look like, I can't stand you because you're an Aussie.
What are you doing?
It's not how it is.
Sometimes we're not really sure what we're afraid of, and fear's an awkward state. We won't get rid of it. So there's a tendency to be quite comfortable about locating it in an object that's outside of you, like somebody, something, and say that's what I'm afraid of, because then you can avoid it.
Racism is when people tease you about where you come from or what colour you are?
It may be the colour of their skin, their religious beliefs. It's one item that you pick out, and it's a really sad way to look at another human being.
The Lemming Flats riots were a series of violent anti-Chinese demonstrations held in New South Wales in the late 19th century. The Chinese were blamed for unemployment rates, bad luck on the goldfields, and the cause of all things bad in society. The media reflected these sentiments. These stereotypes helped to shape attitudes towards immigration. They played a role in the development of the White Australia policy.
This kid came up to us and said, "Oh, you drink Chinese drink, oh, that's very, very cheap. But you Asian, very, very cheap. Like, what's your name? Ching Chong? Miao Ma? Dong Ma, Dong Ma." And then it just like, for that one split second, I just didn't want to be Asian. Like, they might think it's funny, but towards the Asians, it's very hurtful because it's our culture, it's our ethnicity. Like, but for someone else to take it out and make it as a joke and for everyone to laugh at it, it's very hurtful. But then he still kept on laughing and he was like, "Oh, you Asian, you gonna do kung fu on me?" I just went home and I was like, "Oh, why do I have to be Asian?" And then I just regretted it. But then again, I love being Asian. I love the food, I love the culture. I wouldn't want to be anybody else. And then for one person to come and wreck it, why should I have to feel, disgraced or ashamed?
But I actually think people are very afraid of the unknown, and they're afraid of people that are very different from them. The way that fears can be manipulated are, I think, when you're not quite sure what you're afraid of in a particular moment, and so that shows as anxiety, and people can then sort of tell you what it is that you really are afraid of, and they can attach your anxiety or your fears onto highly visible differences or visible groups in society that suit their purposes.
The media projects that if you're Muslim, you are to be suspected of being affiliated, associated with terrorism, or that you're to be treated with caution because there's a possibility that you may be a terrorist. Well, it's been done with all other races, and it's done by a white media.
After the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, Russians in Australia were regarded with extreme suspicion. In 1919, over 7,000 people rioted and attacked the Russian community headquarters in Brisbane. That's 2,000 more people than the Cronulla riots. Newspapers at the time referred to Russian Australians as a threat to ordinary Australians. This was the time of the Great War, and Australians were enlisting to fight for the British. Irish Catholics were also regarded as treacherous and disloyal to the Empire. They were accused of placing loyalty to the Catholic Church above loyalty to the Empire. The leader of Australian Irish Catholics was Archbishop Mannix, and he was the main opponent of conscription. The Prime Minister, Billy Hughes, wanted conscription so he could send more men to fight. Billy Hughes declared about Mannix, "If you follow him, you range yourselves under the deadly enemies of Australia." Today, we have an identical situation. These days, with the war on terror, Australian Muslims have their loyalty to Australia constantly questioned. There is an idea that loyalty to Islam conflicts with loyalty to Australia.
Because Western countries perceive themselves as under threat from Islamic fundamentalism, that creates a condition of suspicion. So there's a sort of fear that can be exploited there in the general community.
I've lived in another country. I've seen they were accepting, and I've seen everything that happened there. They were very accepting of me, and then 9/11 happened, and they see it and they get scared.
When one person does something, it reflects on all of us.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, look at that. For
example,
Lebo,
the media.
The media. Look at that Lebo who's walking around, vandalising. It's one in every.
So then
10.
it's not a Muslim. It becomes a Muslim.
It feels like we're outcasts. They don't look at us like we're the same. They look at us like we're from a different planet.
Very alienated in regards to the society, the very society that you want to call home.
You can't feel like that. I don't want to feel like that anymore.
How would you guys like to be seen as Lebanese, Australians,
Australians are being seen? How normal? Like blended. We like to be blended.
They put us in the news. They were saying Muslim Australian did this, They don't even say Muslim Australian. A Muslim young male did this.
They say Middle East.
Yeah, or Middle East.
They were supposed to cut that out.
Middle Eastern appearance.
Middle Eastern appearance. That was Middle Eastern appearance.
And at the same time, they are all Middle Eastern appearances, and everyone will look at them with suspicion, and they needed some protection. So they felt that actually they would have protections in numbers. And at the same time, they felt that probably a blonde, blue eyes, white Anglo-Saxon will look at them as a threat to them, so they stayed away.
We want to be seen as how everyone's being seen in the country.
That's right. We want to...
Like as Australians, but with a different background. One does something stupid out on the street.
It reflects on everybody. For us, we don't look at them as if that the people that were in the Cronulla riots, the Australians that were involved in the Cronulla riots,
they're a minority, just like some of the Lebanese people who want to start trouble and want to be out there running amok. They're the minority. Some people are just ignorant.
The reputation of the whole community have been tarnished by the action of the few. Unfortunately, politicians have made a good use of it for their own advantage, but very unfortunate. All that have led to the Cronulla and what happened at Cronulla. It is everyone's responsibility that to know what happened at Cronulla should not have happened, and it should never be allowed to happen again.
We need to show them that we can all live together, first of all, and create a good image of us. You know, they only have one image, that all Arabs and the Middle Eastern people are all bad. We need to show them that we're good and we can be successful ones. You know, a lot of Arabs, they make success, they go to university, they become doctors, they become lawyers, they do all that stuff. They only think that all you want to do is be bad, have arguments, start trouble. They don't know the good side of us. They don't know that we live just like them.
It has a big effect on their future. Young people we see at the moment, it's very evident that they are quite frustrated and angry about the injustice that's taking place before their eyes, and they lack the power in changing these things. So therefore it leads to them destroying their own life, and I've seen it so many times, and I mean I've experienced it myself, where you basically say to yourself, well, the hell with it. It's already ruined, so might as well ruin it.
It takes away your self-esteem, it takes away your self-confidence, and it becomes easier to go, well, stuff it, I can't fight against this continuous projected image. I'll become what they project me to be, because that's what they believe me to be.
You know, a lot of them sit there and think to themselves, what's the point? Everyone's given up on me, and I might as well give up on myself.
Trying to be good on my end, trying to treat people with respect, trying to show them that what they see on the media is not true.
I went out, there was a program about surf lifesaving at Cronulla.
Yeah.
After the Cronulla riots, and I went out there and I joined them. I'd done bronze medallion, it took me 2 months. And the media took photos and put it in the newspaper, published it. And I reckon that's made a difference. Like showing that some Middle Eastern appearance and Lebanese out there being lifesavers, contributing to the media and making a difference.
Stereotyping and discrimination will never succeed as long as schools and community reinforce human values of care and respect.
One of the most fundamental things that we can take from that is that it's an opportunity for change, and it's an opportunity to create a positive future for the Lebanese or the Muslim community, and to work on those stereotypes and perhaps change them so that you can create a brighter future for everyone.
There's no use of us trying, and it's never gonna happen. If it was gonna happen,
it will happen. Man. It will happen. All we need to do is show it in the media that we're
I know we need to show it, but I don't know. As much as we want to show it, I know it's gonna happen.
Whether the culture is different or the nationality is different, everyone has the same likes, dislikes.
Intolerant of other people.
Sure, we're all from different backgrounds, but on the inside we're all the same.
Bye guys.
Get on, man.
If one section of society gets scapegoated, the whole society suffers. Throughout Australian history, many different groups have been targeted.
or so the multicultural Australian. So listen up to the shake up, I wake up. This ain't no fake up, it's the mark I take up. To the top, no we can't be stopped. This is Radio City's West, I think the rules to the top. Well, hop, stop, put your hands up in the air. Wave them around like you just don't care. Cause yeah, my music's gonna leave you with despair. Oh, my people's everywhere, I'm just jumping in the brimming in the new year. With this brand new trend, ripping the FMs with the hip-hop blend. So listen up, friend, I'm here to mesmerize, not to terrorize. It's been no surprise, open up your eyes. Watch your dance for bumping, ass is bumping. Ain't this something? Hell yeah, let's say it again. Hell yeah, I'm the